For more on this now, let's speak to political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng. Asanda, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. I mean, the DA unveiling what it calls its plans to turbocharge the country's economy, which it says is in ICU. And this is a document the party says that it's going to carry to all municipalities, cabinet subcommittees and all of that. What are you reading into all of this? Because we've been here before where these parties are at loggerheads.
Well, I mean, I think it's very interesting revelations that the DA has made today, and I don't know if they meant to reveal as much as they have. So first of all, what they've told us is that the GNU is not working in the way that it's supposed to work. They've told us that they're not meeting as regularly as they're supposed to. They're supposed to have monthly meetings. Those haven't happened. They're supposed to have a lehotla. That hasn't happened. It's only been one lehotla for the past year. That is, first of all, concerning, but not surprising, considering the fighting that has been happening between these two political parties. Secondly, the biggest thing that's come out is that Steenhuisen tells us one very critical thing. He said that while ANC ministers sit over their hands, DA ministers are implementing these very policies that he is telling us about. I found that very concerning, because is he saying that ANC ministers are in government implementing ANC policies, DA ministers are in government implementing DA policies, Patriotic Alliance ministers are in government implementing Patriotic Alliance policies, and rather than the government of national unity that they promised us and the stability that they promised us and everything in between. And I thought, while he outlined the issues of South Africa quite well, and he very much knows what the problems of South Africa in the same way that the ANC knows the problems of South Africa, but both fail to take accountability for their part in the problems of South Africa. This DA is not innocent in unemployment, is not innocent in the rampant crime that we're seeing and violence, because they are a member of this government of national unity. It is their government, and they have been a member of this government for a year. So while it's great to outline and tell us living in this country what our problems are, you need to be able to tell us what your responsibility is and what you are doing to end this torture that this country has become, instead of blaming and kind of saying it's the other guy's problem when you are in government with them.
Yeah, and especially because, Asanda, when you talk about the policies, it was actually quite interesting to hear him say that they're not there to implement the NDR, and one says, okay, what is happening here? But then he speaks about the national dialogue, right? And he says that, no, we've pulled out of it, you guys know this, and we were against it, because we do know the problems of South Africa. But when one goes back to the statement of intent that he is quoting, in clause 12, it is clear. It says, parties commit to an all-inclusive national dialogue process with parties, civil society, labor, business and sectors, etc., to discuss these and other critical challenges that are facing the nation. They should have sounded the alarm before this was finalized if they don't want a dialogue.
This is exactly my issue, because not only have they told us that they've pulled out of this dialogue, they then go on to start a dialogue, because by saying that they believe that South Africa's problems can be solved by removing expropriation without compensation, by removing BE, and by removing AA. They are starting a national dialogue on a key and critical piece of policy that is one of the biggest wins of CODESA. They are changing the very foundation of South Africa while not wanting to be in the room to discuss how, if it needs to change, how it's going to change and what is going to replace it. And that is such a big problem for me, because BE, affirmative action, expropriation without compensation, they didn't just come out of thin air. These are actually policies that the ANC implemented on the basis of what the majority of South Africans want. And what they say with their own mouths, that they want these policies to be scrapped, right? But they don't provide how they're going to replace them. And they say that they understand that transformation is imperative. They understand that redress is imperative. But then if you look at their past conversations about what they think should replace this BE and affirmative action, they make the very interesting statement that if you are, it's basically a once empowered, always empowered principle, where they say that if you are already economically empowered, then you shouldn't be benefiting from any efforts to redress. Now, I find that so problematic, and it shows a lack of understanding of this word redress. You are redressing people who are victims of a painful system, or the pain that they have experienced. So somebody who is not killed in a hijacking is no less a victim of crime and a victim of hijacking than the person who has been killed in the hijacking. And so that you are a black person whose ancestors and who would have experienced apartheid yourself and been affected by apartheid and somehow pulled yourself up despite the many blocks and obstacles, and now get told that once you reach a certain level, you actually don't deserve to benefit from the redress. Unacceptable.
Asanda, how much of this, right, should also be read in the context of politics, given the upcoming local government elections?
I mean, of course, it's all about the upcoming local elections. You've got the ANC gave us Twinswalo, DA is giving us Kabelo. So it's all about kind of building these narratives that seek to claim to be the rightful kind of representatives of South Africa and South Africans' issues. The ANC just the other day was giving us their kind of state of the nation as part of the outcome of the NEC. And so the DA saw that there's an opportunity for them to effectively respond. And that's what they're doing. And if we come to this local government elections, for example, they made some very interesting statements, like we've seen in this country unstable coalition governments. And again, they take no responsibility. The DA is one of the biggest stumbling blocks to coalition governments at a municipal level in this country. Many that have partnered with them have told us repeatedly that the reason why we had to get out is because the DA was insufferable, the DA didn't listen, and the DA did not engage. But when they talk about the instability of coalition governments at a municipal level, they don't mention themselves as the biggest, stumbling block and the biggest red tape that needs to be rid of.
Asanda, let's see what happens, because it's quite an interesting time, and if at all the ANC will respond to this particular briefing today. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. That was political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng.